Hello and welcome back to Insurance Isn't Boring. This is episode 22. Xander Wolle, hosted as always by my good friend and running buddy Elijah Corujo. We missed last week. We'll get into why a little bit. I was having some fun in Utah, and we just found out that we cracked the top 30 business podcasts in Bulgaria. So shout out
Hmm.
to you if you're listening to
Shout
us.
out, shout out Bulgaria.
Um, we just wanted to get into a little bit different of an episode today. We've done a lot of actionable stuff, a lot of hearing from super high caliber individuals who have kind of summited the company, so to speak. We also have a lot of cool things going on. Want to talk to y'all about that. As always, momentum and also how cool it can be once you have developed a skill, right? The first time riding a bike, it can take you a couple weeks to get up, but you don't have to think about it if you take a break for a year or two. Um, we're actually filming a little earlier than usual. So it is Tuesday. So Elijah, how's your Tuesday going, brother?
So far, so good. I'm at 4 appointments ran so far this week. Between yesterday and this morning, I have made 2 sales for a whopping $800 in premium. And I have 8 appointments this evening, bro. So, trying to replicate what you did last week, writing over 10,000 in 2 days, which is no small feat. Um, I've got a trip coming up this week, and so whenever I'm going to be out of town, I try to front load my production and try to consolidate my time frames and do extra. I don't normally have 8 appointments in a day, but should have at least 5 grand in premium and some families helped before the end of the day.
I was saying, dude, I ought to take a golf trip every week. I perform
Might help
better
you
like
out.
that. Yeah. But that's fantastic. I am currently have not run a single appointment this week. Got back in on a red eye yesterday at 9 a.m. Yesterday was painful.
Mm.
Um, but I've got three scheduled for this afternoon, one for tomorrow. I'll dial some more when we get off of here. Um, but you're going out west, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're going out of the country, and then you're
Yep.
closing on a house. You got a pretty busy summer, man.
Dude, I
Um,
do. And that's been one of the main things that has been really pushing me to go super hard. I mean, I've sold over 200 grand this year so far, and it's more than I've sold in this time frame. And the main reason why is because we're buying a house, we're doing some things, but whenever I've got trips planned, I try to do extra beforehand and then do extra afterwards so I don't skip a beat because we've talked about this plenty. This is a momentum gig, man. It's keeping momentum and saving yourself time, energy, and money, having to rebuild that momentum. And so my wife and I are going out to Napa this week for a good friend's wedding. Never been out to Napa, so we're gonna hit some wineries and have some fun, and then hit it hard next week. I want to try to do like maybe 15 or 20,000 next week. We'll see if I can follow in Dylan Crane and Jake Van Dusen's footsteps because first week of June, courtesy of American Amicable, they're flying us out to Portugal. So we're going to be kicking it in Madeira. I hope I'm saying that right, but kicking it in Madeira for about a week or Madeira. I don't know.
don't
Let us know
ask
in
me,
the
man.
comments. But yeah, going to be on a carrier trip and dude, I haven't missed a carrier trip since 2020. So, or 2021 is when I first qualified for a carrier trip. Haven't missed one since. Pretty sweet gig.
Sweet gig. And kind of with just going back a little bit to what you were saying, I remember it was Wednesday of last week, and I was happy with what I'd written, but there was also a part of me that was like, I still have unresolved leads. Like there's still gas in the tank here. Um, and I was nervous about taking Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You getting in at 9 a.m. on Monday. I definitely was not 100%. So basically, taking 6 days off, and what that was going to do to. I had some pretty good momentum built up.
Yeah,
I
you
was
did.
already at basically 30K on the month after was that week two or three. Um,
Not too shabby.
no, great. Literally on pace for a record month. And I'm like, yeah, now I'm gonna go leave and go golfing in Utah and drinking with my buddies. Like that's a great way to keep that going. Um, so I was a little concerned about that, just to be completely honest. But I came back today and yesterday, and you call people, and when you've done something, Elijah, how many booking calls do you think in your tenure you have done?
Uh, Probably over 10,000. The
Right?
last
Uh,
7 years, probably more than
I was
that.
going to say probably more than that. Um, because if you've done something that many times, it is. I'll put it this way: I could wake up in the middle of the night with a gun to my head, and I could hop right into the
That's
booking
exactly
screen.
why I'm calling.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was a bit of a realization today of like, I still don't feel great. I caught something. You can probably hear it in my voice. And that's just very comforting because I was just with a bunch of people who don't love their jobs. They don't have job security. Half my friends, there was, a corporate restructuring or something. And so they either just got a new job or they're looking for one. And I'm like, "Ah, I have
We're
more job
hiring.
security." Yeah, I was letting them know. Um, It was just a cool full circle moment of like, this is the bill of goods that I was sold, and it's real. And I also, but the two of us, I mean, we're a fair bit younger than I think the average insurance agent. And so
Oh yeah,
to
by a long
someone,
shot.
right, and someone looking at this and they're like, "Oh, selling insurance, that's not very sexy." Okay.
Dude, title of this podcast is Insurance Isn't Boring. And like one of the main reasons we started this is to kind of disprove the stereotype that people have of this industry, which, I mean, the average insurance agent is like 55 years old and has been in it for a long time. And this industry used to be a dinosaur of an industry where stuff doesn't change. There's not a whole lot of innovation. And I think that's one of the things that's unique about our company is we're trying to do things different. But when I first came into this and I went to my first conference, bro, I went to see if this thing was legit. It sounded too good to be true, and I was like, well, conference is 2 hours away from me. Might as well just go see, spend a weekend in DC, and get a vibe check on this company. And it was real. But one of the things that really piqued my interest was the incentive trips that you can win. Um, I love traveling. I love going on to sick locations and staying at cool resorts. And what's even better about it, bro, is not having to pay for it. And so I went to a conference and they were showing these carrier trips that Mutual of Omaha and American Amicable and Americo and Foresters do. And they take you to these four seasons and they fly you out with you and a guest. And I was like, you're telling me if I do my job well enough, I can win multiple of these every single year? Sign me up, bro. And so the
Right.
first carrier trip I won was to the big island of Hawaii. We got to go to Cabo. We've gone to Switzerland. We're going to Portugal this year. And these are trips that cost upwards of $10,000 or $15,000, some of them even more. And it's just a byproduct of doing the job and doing it good enough. And so um, that's one of the things I love about it. And it's there's not many companies that will take you on a trip, or if they do, it's somewhere kind of lame like Myrtle Beach. And so it's I don't know many jobs that you could go do where they give you an incentive trip every single year, and in addition to paying you really well for doing the job. And
Yep.
so
And the other thing that's cool is it's not just one. You just said, hey, there's multiple. So for anyone listening, you never heard of insurance, never heard of Quility Symmetry before. Like you've got each individual carrier, the ones I know, Legal in General, American Amicable, Marico. Mutual Omaha does have one. I think it's pretty
it's hard to
selective.
win.
Yeah, it's hard to win. Foresters has theirs, United Home Life. There are between 5 and 10 carrier specific trips that you can win. And I think both of us are running at multiple right now.
Yeah.
Jake Van Dusen probably already qualified for every single one of them. Um,
He qualifies for 4 or 5 per year.
yeah, he has to pick one to skip because he's too busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the cool thing is you don't have to be writing 700K a year like Jake to do that, right? You can also
Mhm.
just pick a carrier that you really like, which thank goodness we work with all A-rated carriers, so it's pretty hard not to like any of them. And just write business with that carrier.
Yep.
And in the event that you can't get him covered with that carrier, most master agencies also have a trip, right? So we're looking at what is it? I don't
The
even know where we're
Dominican
going.
Republic, bro.
Yeah, the DR. We're looking at going to the DR, and you're already qualified for that. I don't. Mark hasn't posted the numbers. I'm pretty sure I'm already qualified for that as well. And so it's just like, Joe Martinez always says, not making money here is like starving in a grocery store. Not
Very
getting
true.
ex- expense paid per travel is almost hard if you're not consistently plugging into your doing your job, right? Like
Yeah.
60,000 issue paid over the course of 6 months. That is not a lot of business.
Yeah. I mean, dude, there's a guy that we'll shout out Daniel Knuckles.
Animal.
Yeah, one of my running buddies too. Met him on a carrier trip in Switzerland. The guy's part-time. And not anymore. He's full-time now. He's getting married soon. And so he's getting after it, but he is qualified for a carrier trip doing this like 3 or 4 days a week, and got to meet him in Switzerland. I think the value of the carrier trips is you become the type of person to never miss a carrier trip. And the people who win these trips are high caliber. They're doing excellent work. They're doing it at a really high level. And you get to basically go on vacation with these people and break bread, have fun, go on some sick excursions. I'll never forget I went to Cabo with my wife. Never been to Mexico before. We stayed at LeBlanc, one of the sickest spa resorts I've ever been to. But one of the highlights of my trip was getting to go play golf with Brian Pope. And Brian Pope is worth over $100 million. And we're out there drinking big ultras, playing golf in Cabo. Like, I don't know too many opportunities where I would be in that type of circle, let alone not have to pay for it. And I'm the youngest guy out there just because I picked a goal and stayed laser focused on it. And once you win these, it's hard to go backwards and not win them. And so if you're looking for a strategy on qualifying for a carrier trip and you're an agent with us, the only advice I would give you is pick a trip that you want to go on and who you want to bring, and only write business with that insurance company till you qualify. I got a call from Americo earlier this week because I am very close to qualifying for their trip, which is to Iceland at the end of this year. And so you could get to the point where you're qualifying for multiple per year too, which would be pretty sick. But I think staying focused, having a goal like I have it on my dry erase board, which carrier trips I want to win, and I just focus on those 2 or 3 insurance companies all year. I'm not writing business with all 40 of them. I'm just working with 2 or 3 for the most part, and it's way easier to qualify doing that.
And that's such a good point because I've talked to Mark about this, and I was like, which carrier puts on the best trip? And he's like, Xander. To be completely honest, don't make the same mistake that I did. He's like, I spread my business out way too much, so cumulatively, he would have written plenty of business to go on one trip or multiple trips, but he spread it out so much. And at the end of the day, all these carriers are A-rated. If someone dies, they're going to pay out. So all things being relatively equal, right? If Americo is $1 more than United Home Life. Like, actually, they both have trips, to be fair. But like, if you're running for the Americo trip, $12 a year, I don't think that your client is really going to mind that. Both are A-rated carriers, and heck, Americo is the Cadillac of insurance anyway. So, um, keep that in mind. Set a goal. We talk about it all the time. Set a goal because it's really hard to improve something that you're not measuring. If you're running for a goal, you're probably measuring your kind of how you're measuring up against that.
They say what you measure, you can manage. And if you're not tracking your numbers, it's going to be hard to hit what you're shooting for. And we're about almost halfway through the year. You have time to qualify for a trip. You've got time to accomplish a lot. I mean, Dylan Crane came in, and now he's an anomaly, to be fair, but he came in and within 6 months sold north of 500 grand in his first 6 months. Now, not
That's
everybody's going
any
to do
trip.
that, but but you could do it. And typically, I want to say the qualification, it varies carrier to carrier, but it's around 80 to 90,000 issue paid within a 12-month period for the most part. And so very doable. But go win one because it just puts you in a different altitude. You're breathing different air if you're doing that.
And you're hanging out with, because so there's the producers who make the trip, right? So those are people who are writing a lot of business, right? That you can definitely learn from. You can learn from anybody, but you can especially learn from someone who's doing more than you are. But on the other side, you can also win the trip as a builder, right? So
Yep.
if your team does enough business with a particular carrier, you get to go because the carrier looks at you and they're like, "Hey, thanks for finding, hiring, training, and most importantly, getting in the right business with us over the guy next door." And so you just getting to be around, like, just in the cook trips, getting to be around people who are ahead of where I am. And we talked about this a little bit. I can't remember if it was Chris Cook or Chris Clark, but I think it was Chris Cook. They all have very simple advice. It is never, "Well, Xander, you need to rework your entire process, and here's how you get new people from A to." No, it's, "You need to hire more people, or you need to sit 15 appointments a week, or you need to get more butts in seats." It's always very simple, actionable advice. And I always come back to that as being my favorite thing because I'm
Hmm.
always, the engineer in me, it's got to be more complicated. It has to be. There's no way it's that simple. Um, it's just very comforting to know that, like, well, Chris Clark said it. You're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
I often think that people who are giving you overly complicated advice probably don't know what they're talking about. And so the simpler it is, the more confident in the answer that they're giving. And in the 7 years I've been here, that is a common theme that I see with the people at the top of this company is if they're giving advice or they're explaining something, it's normally so simple. And I have the mindset of like, is it, what am I missing here? Because it
Yeah.
can't be that straightforward. But it is. It is, man. I mean, at the end of the day, there's two things that are going to move the needle. Actually, three in this business. You've got running appointments and helping protect families. You've got recruiting and hiring people, which is how you scale. And then you've got dialing and booking appointments. Those are the only three things that are going to move the needle. You can waste hours and days getting certified in every single product, studying every single underwriting guide, getting contracted with all 45 insurance companies, and becoming a master of every single product concept. But the truth is, booking appointments, running appointments, and doing interviews and hiring people are the only things that are going to pay you and help you grow and scale. And anything outside of that is not an income producing activity.
Not to
And
say that
so,
they're a waste of time, but don't do it during work hours. Like,
right.
you can run Excel spreadsheets on numbers after
Hmm.
you've talked to your last family for the night, or you
Yep.
can, maybe you've got an agent who needs like a mindset readjustment. Okay, if you want to help with that, and I also would caution most people on staying away from the energy vampire conversation. But if you're going to do that, don't do it at 4 p.m. That's not
Or
a good
9
idea.
a.m.
Yeah, right. Like, drain yourself of your emotional energy. Like, I've talked about this a little bit on here. Of For there was kind of a couple week period where I was really excited about what my team was doing. I'm seeing them write a lot of business, become self sufficient. But to get them there, I was spending a lot of time answering questions, which again, I'm happy to answer questions. I just wasn't answering them the right way. I'm
Yeah.
very much of a, "Hey, there's a problem. I'm going to hop in and fix it," instead of, "Have you checked the underwriting guide?
Yeah.
Have you tried calling the carrier? Have you done a risk
Yep.
assessment?" And so now, if anyone who reaches out to me between the hours of 9 and 10:30 a.m. Eastern, they're not offended when I just don't answer that call, because that is my time. That's when I'm setting up my day, because I like producing. I like helping families.
Me too.
Um, and so I would advise, guard your time very closely. What
Mm.
you schedule. I just follow my schedule. I'm a simpleton now. All I do is whatever my schedule tells me to do, I go do that.
You and me both, man. I live and die by the calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it ain't getting done. And so I schedule the most important things first. And a byproduct of that is sometimes you got to say no to stuff, man. Like somebody's reached out and we're like, "Hey, do you want to play pickleball next Tuesday, 5 to 7?" I was like, "That sounds fun, but I could be running appointments and making $2,000 to $3,000 in that 2 hour period." So I'm gonna have to rain check that because I'm going to Portugal the week after, and I got to get stuff done. And so it's not on the calendar, and you have to guard that time. And everything you say yes to, there's two to three things that you're saying no to. And so if I were to say yes to going and playing pickleball, which I love to do, want to do, that means I'm saying no to running appointments and actually making money. And
Right.
so I could play pickleball anytime I want, but it ain't going to be on a Tuesday evening, which is when I'm doing the job. And so guard your time. I think that's a really good tip. Easier said than done, for sure.
So everyone's got friends, everyone's got family who
Yep.
care about you, love you, want to spend time with you. And so I also think framing that correctly is important of like, hey, remember I do this thing called working for myself. And so like I could say yes, but then I would be saying no to A, B, and C. And so instead,
Mhm.
let's play pickleball Saturday at, 3. How about that?
Mm.
Um, or maybe Friday afternoon, you give yourself an early Friday, but like those last minute, if someone asks me to, I'll put it this way. If someone asks me to do something less than 12 hours before, it's basically a no every single time. Not because I don't want to do it, but because there's something already scheduled there and like I follow my schedule. So no.
Mhm. And people who are crushing it, it's hard to get on their calendar because they're
Yeah,
so disciplined with what they do and what they say yes to. And I think the more things you say no to, I would argue that you're probably more successful than somebody who says yes to everything.
for
And
sure.
so be guarded
That
with your time and be hyper focused.
that actually I was having a funny conversation with some of my buddies on the trip because they kept sending voice memos. And on a trip, okay, whatever. Um, I have become quite frustrated with the voice memo culture. I think it's a lazy way to communicate with people.
I sent you
That's
one yesterday.
okay. Well, let me add a caveat to all of this of like if you're because this happened to me the other week, brand new agent, not direct to me, not in my downline. Like I have no relation to this person, and they sent me a 5-minute voice memo.
5 minutes, bro. That's crazy.
I'm like, I'm not listening to this. And so
Like, just call me.
literally, and think about what you're saying. You're going to someone who you want help from, and
And
I'm
you're
gonna
gonna
get back,
ramble.
and you're gonna ramble, and I just simply don't have that time. Think about if I got 5 of those in an hour span. Like that's more than half of my hour. Just see ya. Um,
Mhm.
on the flip side, someone like Elijah, who I, work closely with, have a lot of respect for. If Elijah sends me a voice memo, I'm gonna listen to it. Or if Mark sends, so the way
It
I
ain't
think
gonna
about
be
it,
5 minutes, I'll promise you that.
I've never gotten a I've never gotten a 5-minute voice memo from you, but I would just say it made me reflect as a mentee. Since I don't like voice memos, I've never sent that to Mark. But if you are looking for advice from someone else who is, in your eyes, doing better or further along than you are, be respectful of their time. Take the time to write it out. Don't take the lazy way out and text it to them, or just pick up the phone and call them. And if they can't talk, then great, schedule a time to do it. Um,
Hmm.
but that was we were talking about this week, and I was like, guys, stop sending me voice memos.
I ain't gonna listen to him.
Yeah, you're just talking to you're talking to a wall.
I think I started sending voice memos in the last couple years, but I definitely text more than I do that. And it's always if I'm driving or if I'm like in the middle of something, I'll send a voice memo. But 5 minutes, that's aggressive. I feel like that's hijacking.
Yeah, I think it is too. Now, kudos to Apple is they'll now use their AI to summarize it.
Transcribe it.
But then you're trying to read it and you're like, what is this person trying to say? And you're like, yeah, dang it, now I got to listen to this thing anyway.
When in doubt, pick up the phone, man. But as you grow and scale, your time becomes more valuable too. You know, like if you're making more money, an hour of your time is worth more than it was previously. And so you just have to be that much more guarded with your schedule and just kind of fending off the things that are trying to derail you or distract you. And that can be tricky, but it's easier if you've got a goal and something that you're running towards to kind of keep the horse blinders on, so to speak, and keep you locked in. And so I definitely say no to more stuff than I say yes to. And a lot of people who are way further along than this than me say no to probably way more stuff than I do too. And
I am sure of it.
that's a key to their success, no doubt. Um, but in closing, go win a carrier trip. Do it for yourself. Do it for your family. So fun, and it's just one of the cool byproducts that make this industry exciting. And there's people in our company who go on 5 or 6 of these international trips a year. I mean, I asked one of
Never
them
that
one
much.
time if they ever get tired of it, and assure me it's no. They're always excited about it, but
Staying at the Four
go get around them.
Seasons, all expenses paid. Golly, that's a tough life.
It
I wouldn't
is,
want to be
man.
them.
Yeah, those guys. But I think that's it, man. We're gonna get some sick content in Portugal in a couple weeks with some of the founders of this company. I'm gonna try to, and tune in next Friday for episode 23. We got some good stuff cooking.
Sounds good. Peace, y'all.
See ya.